Welcome back on deynonmod. Today I want to propose you the analysis of the allegiance and sub-allegiance of depth from Age of Sigmar from the General Handbook 2017 of the Game Workshop. And we can start now talking about the Grand Allegiance depth and the battle trait itself. The battle trait itself, the Deathland minions, it didn't change as a function. The rules are the same. What changed is the range where the battle trait can influence the miniatures. That comes from the 10-inch from the previous handbook to the 6-inch of the 2017 handbook that it's now. So it's a great decrease in range. Luckily it involves again the units and not the miniatures, so anyway it's affordable, but anyway it's a great change in the range. So we can start talking about the command traits of the Grand Allegiance depth, and here we find the different points that changed. The first, it's the ruler of night, that it's the biggest change of the army. So if you want to play the Grand Alliance depth, this is a great change completely, because from the previous +1 to the Deathlet minions, we change to the increasing range of the Deathlet minion actual. So we amplify the range, so from the 10-inch from before we pass to the 12-inch, but in a way we don't save anymore so good, so we lose quite a lot. So I'd suggest, if you want to play the death, to play the model of the White King with Baleful Sword, so to use the standard in the way to have a double save. Obviously if you want to play something that is related with death rattle units. Otherwise, if you want to do something specific, or you are able to use the death rattle, or you have to sacrifice the other sub-challenges and play the Grand Allegiance death. And we start now with the second command trait, that it's changed, not quite a lot but a bit, because we come from the only add 1 to hit of the previous trait from the previous general handbook to the add 1 to hit and wound for the general if they are in the cover. I want to remember you anyway that if the general is on the monster, so has the keyword monster, it hasn't the possibility to have the cover bonus. So anyway you can have this bonus to hit and wound, but you not have the bonus to cover to the saving. So you have to take note of this if you choose this one. And starting with the third command trait, we don't find any different before this and this actual general handbook and the episode 1. So again, in your hero phase you'll pick a unit enemy within 3 inches from the general and roll 2 dice. If the total of these dice is equal or exceed the opponent bravery, the units the enemy unit will suffer D3 mortal wounds. And maybe this is one of the best command trait actually. So if you want to play the Grand Alliance death, you'll have to think if you want to play it because the artifacts that are still good, I anticipate this, or because you can't play the sub-alliance because the different allies that doesn't let you use models that you want to use. So pay great attention to this, but in a way this can be one of the best of the command traits, so okay. And now we can start to talk about the fourth command trait, that is Master of the Black Arts, where your general becomes, as a wizard, who knows Arcane Bolt and Mystic Shield spells, and if your general is already a wizard, can add one to the casting and the binding spells. This is a common trait that was yet good and still as good. Before it was a bit less taken in consideration because you had the Ruler of Night and Red Fury common traits. Now it comes much more interesting because the powering of them. So now it's a bit better. And talking about the Red Fury, that it's the fifth common trait, we can start to talk about the real depowering of the Great Alliance death. Why? Because now the Red Fury is not anymore that you roll a dice and the amount has to under the number of wounds inflicted to pile and attack again. But now you have to roll a 5 plus to be able to pile and attack again. And it's a great change because now from before that you almost had a certainty to do, now you have 1/3 possibility to do. So it's really a great depowering. Because if before with the Ruler of Night you were able to save quite a lot, you were able also not to choose it. But now this common trait it's completely broken. It's completely to discard because there isn't any more way to use it. You can't do a command trait to be maybe able to do. So you don't have any certainty to be able to can use this command trait itself. So I don't find it at all good. And then the sixth of the command traits, that it's supernatural horror. It didn't change. So as before, you double the number of models that flee from enemy units if they are within 12 inch, and it's the change because before it was 10 inch, from the general in the battle shock plane phase. And here it's a bit change only because now it's a bit less unuseful. So now it's a bit less useful. And at the same time it's one of the worst as before because there are a lot of units and command traits abilities that allow the units not to do the battle shock test, to reroll it, to have a better one result. So anyway, it's maybe one of the worst in general about the command traits. Anyway, it's a bit better than before, and now because the powering of the Ruler of Night and Red Fury can be taken in consideration, but anyway it's not so good. Taking a brief summary about the command traits of the Grand Alliance Death that as are they are now, we can see that we had a great depowering of the power of the Alliance Death. Why? Because the best that I had that I used before, that was Ruler of Night, now it's almost useless. So for me it's a bit a great change, and I had to change a lot of my plans and way to use the army. And the other is the Red Fury that now it's completely useless. So we had a completely depowering of the army, and so we had to see the artifacts to be able to have playable it. Anyway, now that we analyze the command traits, we start with the artifacts of that. So we start. About the first artifact, that is the cursed book, it didn't change at all. So again, we can subtract 1 from the hit roll of any unit within 3 inch of this model, friend or foe, unless the unit is with the death keyword. So it didn't change. It's still anyway a good artifact, so it's anyway good to use. And talk about the second artifact, that it's the Cloak of Mist and Shadow. It didn't change. So Also now you can move of 12 inch and you have to stay away 3 inch from the enemy models. The only difference is now there is a notification that if this is impossible, the models remains in the current location. Okay, but it was as before, so it's not any change. What change is the strategy. Why? Because now with the rules of one, you can only have one artifact and you can't repeat it. So if before you had the possibility to add the cloak, mist and shadow to two models, so you had to have the for example the general and you had the red fury, so you had the possibility to have a model that would be able to do a alpha strike and free a little zone around, or you had two models, so you had an alpha strike of two models with the general that done free, you had the 3 units to attack and so on. Anyway, now you're not anymore able to such a thing. It means that a lot of strategy that before you was able to use, now they are completely scattered. You even can't consider them, and it's a quite a big attach to the strategy of the options that you could have had. So you had to take note of it, and lucky it's so now. The third artifact is the Sword of the Unholy Power. It didn't change, so it's the same as before. It's one of my favorite artifacts because it's really strategic, even more than the curse book and so on. Why? Because it lets you to summon, obviously, the units that can be summoned in the Great Alliance Death, any unit, and so being able to adapt your strategy to the field. What change? It's nothing. So anyway, one it was not sufficient, and this sword, this artifact, let you really implement and use at the better what are the reinforcement points that you have. So it's a artifact that I suggest you to take a note about. The only thing that it's something to talk about is if the spell about evoking summoning is considered to be used at the lowest of the summoning, or you can choose the result to apply. Sincerely, I propend for the second one, so you can choose if what level to use to summon. Some others not, so anyway, it's the only thing to take note about. Anyway, it's one of the best artifacts to take note about the Great Alliance Death. And we can start now talking about the fourth artifact, that is the Black Amulet. It didn't change at all. As before, you can choose an enemy unit within 12 inch from the model once at game, and inflict a number of mortal wounds equal to the battle round that you are playing at. Obviously, that you can't pick a unit with the death keyword. Sincerely, it's one of the worst of the artifact before and now. So I don't find it quite useful. Obviously, if you are playing the sixth battle round and you can inflict 6 mortal wound, it's not so bad. But anyway, I don't find it quite good anyway. What really changed is the fifth artifact, that is Stoneblade. That yes, can heal one wound suffered by a model within 6 inch from the model itself that using this. But now it changed because before you could use these attacks from one of the weapons that the model could use in close combat and take it from each model that you killed. Now instead it's for each 6 for wound that you realize with using that weapon. So it's a big change. There is one thing to take note about, is that before you couldn't use the mount for the attack source. Now there isn't such specification, so or there will be a fuck, or to compensate the fact that there is a bit of the powering, now you could use also the attack of the mount itself, because it's a model attack anyway. It's a bit crazy because a tomb used from a mount it's not so good. Anyway, okay. But anyway, if it will be so, it's not fact. You could be, for example, using a dragon zombie to use it for the close. So you have a great amount of attacks to use to can do something anyway. Anyway, so it's a bit the powering. It's not so good as before anyway, so it's one of the powering of death. And now we can talk about the sixth artifact. That it's one of the most modified artifacts in the story of the death. It's the Ring of Immortality. We started from unpunily having a model coming back from death to being able to do it only paying, thanks facts, only by paying reinforcement points to do it. So, based anyway from what it's written now, maybe surely before you had it coming back but losing the general option and so the command traits itself. What you change now? You change that you can save the model but only rolling a free plus, and moreover you'd heal only D3 wounds. So before you heal, then if you are still not slain, you can transfer the model to an inch and having anyway to stay 3 inches away from enemy models. This is really important. Why? Because now what changed is that the model can be anyway killed. So you can't save it. If you can't save it, the artifact is anyway useless. So if you even take the free plus and you roll 1, but you can't have the model survive to the wounds that are arriving, the model is anyway dead. So it's an artifact that sincerely I don't know if it's good or bad. Because yes, you can save it, yes, you can transfer it. Now you don't have to pay reinforcement points anyway to having it coming back to life, or better, to heal and save itself. But the worst is that you can't anyway having it useless. So you can have anyway it using and still having the model slain because you don't heal enough. So I don't know if it's good or bad. I think that you have to take note about it and consider it if it can be useful or not for your strategy. I think that anyway, not having to pay the reinforcement points, it can be in some way useful because it gives you a chance. But anyway, you have to keep calm in it. Anyway, it's only one use because it's applying only on the first way that the model suffered the final wound. So you have to take note about it and decide. It's anyway not the best artifact anymore. And talking about a summary about the artifacts of death, I think that we didn't have an improving, not even the powering. What changed the most is the Ring of Immortality. That I think that it's good that we don't have anymore to pay the reinforcement points, but at the same time I don't find it quite good as before. So, and there are also some other changes that I think that they are good and not good. It's really something that you can decide only based on the match that you want to pose. So on the roster that you create, your army. And moreover, because you have to consider it based also on the command traits that you have, and those are the problems. because the common traits I think that are depowered a lot, and so yes, it's a good way because you have to change the way to use, and you don't have to use only the two traits that you used before, Ruler of Knights and Red Fury. The other thing is that you have to change a lot, and it decreases a lot the competitive way of the Grand Allegiance staff. So it's anyway good, but anyway you in general had quite a great the powering of the army itself. Anyway, it's anyway playable, and I think that in some way we'll be able to cross about it. Anyway, it depends quite a lot from the players, how they are able to improve their armies and so on. Anyway, I think that it's so. So we'll have to find a way to play simply it. From deynonmod, it's everything. I invite you to put a like on this video, to subscribe to the channel, to ring the bell, and to comment this video if you are interested in something about this video or you want to suggest me some arguments for other videos. I hope to see you again to the next time.